Hi everyone! I wanted to call and thank the whole staff at the Rocky Mountain Glide School for making my first flight such a thrill. Rocky Mountain Glide School. Let us take you higher. Mike told Melissa that he heard Julie telling Hunter that Ryan was totally bummed that I wasn't at the party on Saturday. I'm so out of the loop without a phone that can send text messages. This Saturday, only at the Seneca Lake Performing Arts Center, the Jerry Davis Orchestra, for the first time performing in their hometown, presented by Open Late Entertainment.
Hey everybody, Jonathan here from Lehigh Valley Music and Sound. And with me today is Angela Mitchell, a voiceover artist from Bath, PA.
Yes, thank you for having me.
And thank you for being here. And any of you out there that might be wondering, why is a voiceover artist on this show? Well, this platform is not just about music, it's about everything sound related, which is why I named it Music and Sound. So, again, I'm glad to have you here, and I got to sample some of your work, which will be included in this interview. And I was amazed, so amazed that I'm like, let's put you out there.
Yeah, thank you.
So this is being blasted to like not only the Lehigh Valley, but specifically to radio platforms. Mm-hmm. And so your interest, do you have with the samples that you gave me? Are they actually excerpts from radio inserts?
Actually, they are not. They are professional demos that I actually had made through a company.
Wow. I was convinced.
Yeah. Well, but that's one of the biggest hurdles, I think, of being a voiceover artist is having material that is very marketable and that is going to make people want to hire you. So I actually went through a professional course through a program called Voice Coaches.
Oh, wow.
And we took classes actually over the phone, classes in voiceover work, and then at the end of the program you actually do get to go into the studio and record professional demos. And they take care of all the editing, the background sounds, and it was a fabulous experience.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what made you decide to go down this road?
For me, voiceover is just a really natural extension of my life. I do have a musical background. I've been a singer for many years, and as well as an instrumentalist too. And I like to talk a lot, actually. So I figure it makes sense to try to market myself with my voice. And
yeah. Makes sense. You do have a very radio type voice.
Yes, and I've been told that a lot in the past too. And so I figured, well, why don't I give it a shot? I was on the internet one day and I found an ad or a posting for this little, like a free meeting or a free seminar about voiceover work. So I just decided to sign up for it, and I went to the class, was there with about maybe 10 other people, and that's how I got started on this company called Voice Coaches, and ended up going through that whole program.
Yeah, mm-hmm. And there's definitely a market for it because a lot of people, they want to create videos, but they don't want to speak on the video.
Right.
Either they can't stand the sound of their own voice, or they just trip over a script, mm-hmm. And they stutter. Or maybe they just don't sound convincing.
Right.
Because
right.
The voiceover is probably I would say. On a scale of importance, I'd say it's up there with a 9 as far as the video goes.
Right.
You have to have the voice is the final driver.
Right. And you hear voiceover everywhere, like literally. I mean,
you just don't think about it.
On the radio, on the TV. I mean, advertising and marketing is such a big thing out there, and it really it's how people buy their products. They get interested in things. They hear people talking about stuff, and there's such a variety of people out there too who do voiceover, and all styles, all sounds are always needed, because you always want to portray different things, different products. So it's that's really like what I think about too, and when I think about doing voiceover is that there's just so much opportunity for so many different things, and it's not even just like radio or TV. I mean, you have like video games, you have movies. I'm trying to think like what other things are out there that I see. Oh, like narration for like audiobooks. even safety videos for companies, like
Yeah.
when you do those training modules and stuff
And they're usually
at work.
they're pretty cheesy usually.
Yeah, but that's all done by professional voiceover artists. So there's a really huge, gambit of styles out there, or things that they need it for.
Yeah. It's the same as with music. I mean, music is, everyone thinks, well, not everyone, but I mean, like I was working with this one guy years ago, and he so badly wanted to do music professionally. And I said, well, as long as you keep as long as you keep open-minded about what it is you want to do in the music industry, I mean, you might not necessarily be a rock star, but you can play music. Music is everywhere. It's on TV. It's in movies. Jingles on the radio.
Right.
Background music of all kinds. There's always a need for a musician, but it might not be what you originally had in mind.
Sure, absolutely.
But you still very well could be a musician professionally. And it's the same thing with voiceover. It's everywhere. Voices.
Yeah.
People, a lot of people when they do it, when they get into voice work, they want to be, like maybe speak for a cartoon or something.
Right.
But that's like that's like the equivalent of a musician wanting to be a rock star.
Exactly.
But doesn't mean you can't do that type of work. It's everywhere.
Right. Yeah, I definitely. I mean, for me, I wouldn't really consider myself like somebody who would do voices necessarily, or like cartoon voices. I definitely would say I'm more of like a professional sounding, for like businesses, like advertising for businesses and things like that. Or, kind of like the fun girl next door, quirky, sort of type. So.
Yeah. Well, when you guys take a listen to the sound bites that Angela sent over to me, I'm sure you're going to agree with me. Like, she sounds like she's definitely belongs on the radio.
The first step in developing a safety plan for a manufacturing facility is easy. Just look around you and use your imagination. If an employee is doing maintenance work above a piece of machinery, they could fall. So a safety harness is needed to prevent injury. What usually causes problems for a safety professional is not going far enough to think of the next what if. It's hard to explain how I first knew there was something unusual about my house. I guess if I had to describe it, I'd say it was like the feeling you get when the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. But it was more than that. It was a presence. I could feel it almost every time I was in the house. I never felt threatened or afraid, just not alone.
She sounds like the real deal.
Well, I would love to be on the radio. Definitely would. Yeah.
Me too, but no one wants to hear my voice. And I had someone say to me one time that I had a radio voice, and I was like, really? I have this whiny, annoying voice, and it's because I have a deviated septum, so it affects my voice, and I sound real nasally, but it is what it is. But when someone said I had a radio voice, like, I don't think so, but thank you.
I think a lot of people could be on the radio. I definitely think you could too.
Yeah.
And
you when you said about voice coach, I think a lot of people do need voice coaching too. I'm sure I need it because, like, I'll talk really soft sometimes, and it gets nasally and whiny, and it doesn't sound appealing for radio.
Right. Well, and that's why, for me, too, my background in singing and music definitely helps me with that. I think that's why it was really kind of easy for me to transition into it. Because people don't think, people just think when you're doing voiceover that you're just kind of like talking into a microphone.
No.
But there really is so much more that goes into it. And it is sort of like an actor or an actress trying to interpret a script, because that's what you get. You get a script, and, you may not get a lot of feedback from like how they really want it to sound. So sometimes you have to interpret, just your tone, the personality that you're putting into a script. And there are a lot of different things like pitch and, the way the voice goes up or goes down at the end of a sentence, how you're actually pronouncing words.
Well, like when you watch a really good news reporter, darn well they don't talk like that off camera.
Right.
Like the way they have that tone, like, today there was a horrible fire. And
right.
That's all like, like that's
that's all part of that. Yeah,
it comes from the diaphragm. Because if everyone just talked like this, is like, this is like
nobody would want to listen
exactly.
to you, right?
That's how you would talk like in a normal conversation with somebody, but you're not going to talk like that in front of the camera. But you know what though? if it's delivered properly, people don't even notice. They don't even realize. They don't think about it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, I do, it is interesting. I mean, I had a couple of paid voiceover gigs, like the first ones I ever got, but they were really lengthy scripts, like narrative stuff for advertising products on the internet. And again, like that was hard to take that on as my first project, because this was stuff that took me a couple hours to record, and then a lot of times too, you have to go back and you have to do edits, or they listen to it and they're like, can you fix this, or can you say it like this? And it's very time consuming.
Yeah.
And
sales especially, because sales, you have to be you have to at least make it sound like you believe in the product,
right?
Because because you're a hired voiceover artist, so it's not like it's not your product,
right?
You're just representing it. You're helping them to represent their own product,
right?
So you don't necessarily believe in the product, and it doesn't matter.
I didn't necessarily believe in the products I was doing either, because they're definitely not products I would buy. So.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter that you don't, because it's as long as whoever the product belongs to, as long as they believe in it, then that's a plus.
Right.
I mean, they should, I hope.
Well, and sometimes you get a script too, and sometimes the writing can be bad. It can be poorly written.
So you have to edit that.
Yeah, sometimes that. There's bad grammar. Stuff is just not said correctly. Like I had to actually do that. I had to just sort of read things the way that I thought it really should be written. And they seem to like it, so I didn't worry about it.
I try not to judge at all, but I am appalled a bit on how bad some people's grammar is.
Right.
I was never I was never an A+ student, but I was a writer. I always wrote poetry and short stories, and so when someone sends me a text message or even just speaks and they're using horrible grammar, I just wow. So I guess I take it for granted, but it's very important to have something well written and well spoken. Especially if you're advertising something, you don't want to sound like what is this person? They don't even know how to talk. I'm going to buy a product from them.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's one thing just to be a good voiceover artist to sell a product, but if you're given a poor script, you have to think about the people who are writing those things too.
So now you're stuck rewriting the script. So now you should actually charge more for that.
Maybe,
well, now that I have to write your script.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not really in a position to do that just yet, because I'm still, really in the infancy of my voiceover career. So I've only really been doing it for probably about 2 years, maybe, if that. So. And for me, one of the biggest hurdles too, and I think this is for a lot of people, because I'm on a lot of voiceover pages on Facebook and other social media, because that's sometimes how I find gigs, actually, is people post online like that. But there's so many people out there I find that are very interested in doing voiceover, but it's also very hard to really get into the field, or into the industry. It's hard to find people who have legitimate opportunities and who are actually going to pay well, because there's a lot of voiceover work out there, but a lot of it too doesn't pay, or pays so poorly sometimes it's not even really worth your time to do it, especially when you're trying to make a name for yourself or build up your resume. And there's so many people out there who want to do it, but again, they just don't know how to get started, or they think they can kind of just do it for free. A lot of people just think they can just record themselves and make a professional demo, but I definitely think it makes sense to have somebody do it for you who knows what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely. There's a huge difference in quality.
Absolutely.
And I think that there's more than one reason why I think it's so difficult. As far as not having good paying gigs, people not wanting to pay as much, is because while there's a lot of demand for it, I don't think a lot of people realize how much work is involved with it. And it's the same as video production. A lot of people want videos, they want them on the cheap, and they don't think they realize everything that's actually involved, and then they wind up getting what they pay for, because they wind up hiring someone on Fiverr for $5-10 bucks.
Right.
And they get a $5 or $10 video.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because it's just and it sucks. It ruins it for everybody. Because then you wind up having a lot of starving artists out there, because nobody wants to pay, and then the people that will take the money, some of them are actually good. That's the crazy thing,
right?
Because the desperation has gotten that great,
right.
But even with that being said, though, you still most of the times you get what you pay for, because a lot of the good talent out there, they won't work for that. They won't work for that because they just know there's too much work involved.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it can take hours. Even for small, short projects, you can really still spend several hours in a studio or even at home. Because you may have to redo it. There's a lot of editing, both on the voiceover artist end and the person hiring you too. It's just like you said too for video work. I mean, so much editing and splicing things here and there that goes into it. It can just take hours and hours.
In voiceover work, they might hire, a company might hire you and they want like the little jingle in there, and then they want it a certain way, and then you're supposed to your cue to come in at a certain time, and the tonal quality. I mean, that stuff is just and if someone thinks that you could just pull your cell phone out and record your voice, and then you hear a truck going in the background, and maybe a lawnmower, and
right.
Like, what are we advertising here?
Yeah, exactly. It's tough. Yeah, it is tough. I mean, we're lucky because we have the technology to do stuff now. I mean, I was just talking earlier about how one of my first gigs was for somebody who lived in Minnesota, and it's great that I have an at-home recording setup that my brother helps me with, so that we are able to do that, and I don't actually physically have to be in a studio in Minnesota, but still, there's still that element of, that professional quality sound.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Because, like you said, I'm not just going to get out my cell phone and do that and send that to them when they're paying me.
No, it would be a huge disservice.
Right, absolutely.
No, I mean, the recordings you have are amazing.
Thank you.
You definitely hear the quality. She's also a really good singer, too, by the way. And figure I'll throw that plug in there. And if
you may have seen me last week.
If you see
with Andrew Dunn.
Watch the interview with Andrew Dunn. She harmonizes with them, and it's amazing.
Thank you very much.
I told them that they should go on the road together. She should be there harmonizing all of his songs, because it's good stuff.
Well, hopefully for his next album, I'll be able to do a little bit of audio work for that too.
That'd be great. And then you could do the voiceover for advertising the album.
Yes. Remember that, Andrew. Okay.
All right. Well, I guess we'll wrap this up. Is there any last words you want to say for anybody out there?
If you want me to speak for your company, please call me, hire me. I am always available, and I will talk about anything. I will say anything you want me to say. No hold barred. So, yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much.
Awesome. All right, guys, I want to thank you for tuning in. Please check out all of Angela's links, and I'll see you guys in the next show.